Hello, everyone, and welcome to BodyBags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Pare and Tats, and I'm sure if you've been keeping up with the videos this week, you know that we're doing a label week this week, and we're going back with good old trusty Scream Factory again. And the one I decided to go with, I'm actually kind of surprised that it hasn't been done already, is from 1995, the year I graduated high school, and it surprised me. I remember going to see this movie in the theater with my mother, and a while back I had said that this was the only movie that I had seen, the only John Carpenter movie I had seen in the movie theater. But then I had forgotten that years prior, my brother and I went to the theater. We watched Memoirs of an Invisible Man. So I watched two John Carpenter movies in the theaters, and I'm sure everybody's going to be like, those two? That's not really anything to brag about. But honestly, I really like this movie. I admit I did see this before I watched the original. And this movie just does have a soft spot in my heart for a number of reasons, and I'll get to it. You already know what it is by the title of the video. John Carpenter's Village of the Damned. Okay? And, wow, talk about timing, because now, um, you know, I was going to end up doing this anyway. Little did I know that we would get the information that Scream Factory now in September is going to put out a 4K release of this, and which I will be picking up because, hey, it's a John Carpenter movie on 4K. It's like, even if it's this one, why wouldn't you want John Carpenter movies on 4K? But anyway, so this movie does follow the. I have to admit, I never read the book Midwich Cuckoos, which this in the original movie is based off of, but this does seem pretty close to the original film. So I'm guessing maybe I get around to I need to read the book, but I'm guessing maybe that both of these movies are pretty faithful adaptations, at least for the most part of the book. So we start off, in the small little town of Midwich, and we're introduced to our main character, Dr. Alan Chaffee, played by the late great Christopher Reeve. Um, and I'll get to him in a little bit, just one of the reasons. But anyway, so he and his wife, and the people in the town, they're getting ready to have this nice little day, just everybody in the town just getting together, having a good time, all this kind of stuff. And then something weird happens, and everybody just, you know, everybody just passes out for whatever reason. And we see, there's a brief little part where the actor Michael Pare is in this movie, and I guess he's what you would call, what they would usually call like the psycho kill in this movie. He's somebody it kind of starts off making you think he's going to be like one of the main characters, but he has a very early exit in the movie. But anyway, so the people in Midwich, they're unconscious for hours. When Alan, he's the local doctor, so he gets called out of town for, to handle a patient. So when he comes back, he sees Dr. What's the character's name? Sorry, I know. Dr. Susan Werner, played by the late great Kirstie Alley. Unfortunately, a lot of late greats are in this movie. And so he sees, like something is wrong here. And, similar to the original movie, they have a soldier with a rope connected to him. He's got the apparatus, gas mask, all this stuff going on. And he starts in a few feet, and then he drops. They pull him out. When they pull him out, and they're like, it's weird how it's, like there's like a line here and stuff. Well, the people finally come to, and then short time later, they realize that a number of the women are pregnant. And one of the women is Linda Kozlowski from Crocodile Dundee. And you have a nice cast in this movie. That's one of the things I think I really appreciate about this film. Like I said, you got Christopher Reeve, Kirstie Alley, Linda Kozlowski, Meredith Salenger, Mark Hamill, Peter Jason, Buck Flowers, just on and on. You have a pretty nice cast of actors in this movie. So a number of these women realize that they're pregnant now, and it's causing some strife in Midwich. Some of the men think that their wives cheated on them or their girlfriends cheated on them and stuff like this. Meredith Salinger's character, her parents basically almost disown her and everything. But Dr. Werner, Kirstie Alley's character, she tells him, hey, if you women will agree to have the babies to term, we will pay you for this because we want to find out what's going on, what happened, and we want to study, the children and everything else. So they do agree to ultimately, all the parents do agree to have the children. I think the one difference, there were a couple of little differences in this version as opposed to the original. In one of, I think one of the differences is that one of the babies dies in childbirth. So yeah, I think that's one of the differences. But anyway, so they have the children, and a few years pass. Now the children are a little bit older. This one here is Thomas Dekker, who, yeah, if you remember, he was in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. He was the boyfriend who, ends up in the jail cell, and stuff. So, like I said, you got some name actors in this movie. So anyway, so they, the children are a little bit older now, and then Dr. Werner, she's studying the kids, and then she's learned that the kids have kind of like telepathic links and stuff. So she's, she does reveal to Christopher Reeve's character later in the movie that, like one thing you need to do is when you're around these children, you need to kind of block your emotions, block your thoughts and everything, because these kids can read your mind and everything else. And then, like certain things go on, and then they find out that these kids have a very strong defense mechanism. And that if they think that like even if you're not trying to hurt these kids, even if they think that you're trying to hurt them, they will, their eyes light up and they will make you kill yourself. Which, I mean, I know I'm probably just telling, it's like, dude, I've seen the original movie, but, I'm just saying. And so now you have these children against the people in the town of Midwich, and what is going, how is this all going to play out, and everything else, and Alan, what's he going to do? So I'm pretty much going to leave it at that. I think mostly everybody already knows how this movie goes anyway. And even if you haven't seen this one, you've probably seen the original, and that, this one is, Carpenter did not do with this like what he did with The Thing, where, well, he didn't have that luxury here, because like I said, that's why I think that both this and the original movie were, they were pretty faithful adaptations of the book, because when you look at The Thing, Carpenter did have a luxury. He did have an ace up his sleeve, in the sense that the original version of The Thing from Another World, was a pretty loose adaptation of the Campbell story. And that was the thing, like Carpenter could sit there and say, that's something we could do. I remember reading the short story. We could try to do a more faithful adaptation. And this way we're not just repeating, the Howard Hawks Christian Nyby film. We could do something, that while it is a remake, it's kind of going its own path and doing its own thing. And I don't think he had the luxury of doing that with this. But so this one, I think, this one does very much come off as just a more updated, more modern version of the original film. But I don't mind that. I think that I do enjoy the story, and I did finally get to watch the original film, which, I do appreciate the original film. I do admit, just for me personally, I kind of like this one a tiny bit more, mainly just because I saw this one first. But, and of course, just because it's John Carpenter, and you even get like a little, blink and you miss it. You do, at the beginning of the movie, you do get a blink and you miss it cameo from John Carpenter. When Christopher Reeve's character drives to the gas station, he's filling up his car. He's talking with Michael Pare's character. There's, you can see John Carpenter there. But, just the movie itself, and then of course, John Carpenter's score. The acting, I think, is, really good all the way around. I do also have a very soft spot in my heart in this movie because of Christopher Reeve. You got to understand, I was a kid of the late 70s going into the 80s. And of course, to me, Christopher Reeve is, and always will be Superman. Okay. I'm not trying to take anything away from Henry Cavill or any of the other actors that, Brendan Routh. I'm not trying to take anything away from the other actors. I actually quite like Henry Cavill's version of Superman. But you gotta understand, I'm a kid of the late '70s and the '80s. To me, Christopher Reeve is, was, and always will be Superman. That's just the way I feel about it. And then plus two, I've seen him in other movies I've always enjoyed him in, like Noises Off or Death Trap, stuff like this. So I've always liked Christopher Reeve. And to think that this was the last movie that he did before he had his tragic accident where he was paralyzed from the neck down, and this was his last performance, and it's a damn fine performance in my opinion. It's just he's so he was so charismatic, even when he wasn't playing Superman. He always had a wonderful leading man presence about him, and he was so charismatic, and like I always felt that he was always able to emote very well. Kirstie Alley, I think she does a really great job, even though um, her character is kind of a good person, but at the same time she's kind of shady at the same time too. And but and I do admit, it's like I admit as a teenage boy with raging hormones growing up and stuff like that, I admit I had a crush on Kirstie Alley, as I'm sure many people did. Um, and I admit, I thought, I always thought she was a looker. But yeah, I just think all the acting is good in here and everything else. Mark Hamill was fun. Just kind of would have been nice. He maybe got a bigger part, but more of a main character. But anyway, yeah, just overall, but just I enjoy, like two performers that are now gone, Christopher Reeve and Kirstie Alley, that I enjoyed watching, and they're gone. So, and just this movie, I appreciate both of them in it. Carpenter's music, his score, the score, his direction, everything else, the cinematography, the special effects, everything is so good about this movie, and I enjoy it. And like I said, it's one of the few, it's one of two movies I was fortunate enough to, John Carpenter movies I was able to see in the theater. So yeah, so I overall enjoy this movie, and I mean I can understand, diehard fans of the original movie, like this just isn't going to be for them. I get that, but I've definitely seen a hell of a lot worse remakes. I know a lot of people will probably be like, the thing is like, yeah, this is really close to the original movie. So the problem is, I mean, yeah, the kills might be a little bit more violent, a little bit more brutal, a little more, not much, but just a teensy bit more gore than what you had in the original movie. So I know that's kind of really the big thing to a lot of people. This remake just feels unnecessary, like you just didn't really need it. But I still like it, and I think all the children were good actors too. So there is that. Now I want to talk about the Scream Factory release of this. Like I said, I am stoked. I mean, yes, I know that Scream Factory can be a mixed bag. Some of the stuff they do is beyond amazing. Some of the stuff they do, not so much. But the fact that they took this John Carpenter movie that a lot of people just were willing to just kind of just write it off and disregard it. The fact that they took this movie and gave it a collector's edition, with bonus features and everything. I mean, my God, you got a documentary on here. It Takes a Village, the making of Village of the Damned, featuring interviews with director John Carpenter, producer Sandy King, actors Michael Pare, Peter Jason, Meredith Salenger, Cody Dorkin, Karen Kahn, Lindsay Hahn, Danielle Weiner, Thomas Decker, and makeup effects artist Greg Nicotero. You got horrors, hollow ground. Revisiting a location with good old Sean Clark. Gotta love Sean Clark. Um, the Go-To Guide, My Career with John Carpenter by Peter Jason. Vintage interviews and behind the scenes footage, theatrical trailer, behind the scenes still gallery. So I mean, the only thing that's missing is just would have been nice if maybe like John Carpenter had done a commentary. How cool would it have been if there had been the opportunity, for Carpenter to do a commentary with Christopher Reeve? I mean, think about it. Look at like a lot of the, look at the commentaries he did with Kurt Russell. Look at, like on Ghosts of Mars, he did the commentary with Natasha Henstridge. That was cool. Things like that. So, I mean, personally, like, I think that would have been awesome if that had been, something that could have happened, would have been a commentary with, John Carpenter and Christopher Reeve. I think that would have been awesome. I would have loved that. But you know what? I'm not going to cry because, like I said, they took this John Carpenter movie that everybody else was just wanting to just kind of sweep under the rug and just kind of forget that it ever happened. And they put the love and they put the work and effort into this. And I'm even more appreciative of now the fact that, I know some people are like, this is getting a 4K release, but you know what? Just I am so thrilled at the idea that this is going to get a 4K release, and because that's one of the things. I'm a John Carpenter fan, and it's like even if this isn't his most shining moment, and I think even Carpenter himself has kind of said, like over time he's just kind of like, nah, this wasn't my best hour, but even still, the fact that I'm somebody as a John Carpenter fan. I want his movies on 4K, even this one. And and like I said, I don't mind this movie. I can actually watch it and enjoy it and have fun with it. You know, so and just the idea that yeah, we're gonna get a 4K and hopefully, I think it should be a damn fine 4K. I think it will be worth the money because usually, one thing I can say about Scream Factory is usually they put the love and care into when they're doing releases of John Carpenter's films. So I'm pretty well sure that, the money I spend on the 4K is going to be well spent. But, just, and I'm sitting here waiting. It's like, thank God we're finally getting another John Carpenter movie on 4K coming. And I'm sitting here like, come on, man, let's get going. I want Assault on Precinct 13. I want In the Mouth of Madness. I want BodyBags. I want, Big Trouble in Little China. I want the rest of his movies on 4K. And I'm hoping that is something that we can start getting ready to see. So, like I said, yes, Scream Factory, they can be hit or miss from time to time. And I'm pretty sure, when the bonus features that I just mentioned are probably never going to be on, they're going to be transferred onto the 4K release, but there's not going to be anything new added. I'm pretty sure you get that. Probably the only thing it'll say is just, the only thing new is going to be new 4K transfer. That's it. But overall, yeah, I do appreciate Scream Factory from time to time. There have been times they've screwed up. I think one of the biggest things that bugs me a lot of the time is more often than not when you have a movie that has like a director's cut or extended cut or something like that. When they put out the 4K release, majority of the time they always just put out the theatrical cut, which that annoys me to some extent. And there have been ones, like right now, they're getting ready to put The Strangers out on 4K. And it's like, as much as I like the movie The Strangers, I'm sitting here like, I want to wait and see like what cut of the movie is going to get, the 4K treatment. If it's the extended cut, okay, the unrated cut, okay, I can see myself, clear to, shelling out the money for that at some point. If it's the theatrical cut, it's like, why bother, So, but yeah, to me, Scream Factory, they're hit and miss, but but also too, just like here lately, they're doing some really good stuff too, and like they just put UHF out on 4K, which is, a movie that probably a lot of people would just never would have bothered with, So I appreciate the fact that they're taking a lot of cult films too, and I know boutique companies are all doing it, but taking these movies and trying to give them some love and everything else, I still appreciate Scream Factory, it's like, they're not always bangers, but still. So, I think I've gone on way long enough, but, I appreciate John Carpenter's Village of the Damned, and, okay, maybe it's not his crowning achievement, but I still enjoy it, and I definitely will be getting the 4K. I already have it pre-ordered, so that's it. So if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's been a bit long, but if you did, could you please leave it a like? And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to the BodyBags channel. We have a different reviewer, one for every day of the week. I'm the Friday reviewer. We have a lot more fun videos and theme weeks and year weeks and all that kind of stuff coming. So, so please come back and check it all out. So that's it, everybody. Take care. Have a good night, and I'll see you all later. Bye.